mysterious ways. Only God do that. If he left them crumbs, it was something was going down.
But what was going down, and why?
Wow, Odin Lloyd, I tell you, and he wasn't talked about throughout this trial, and
no.
Finally, the day of the verdict, tell me if you agree, the mother got up there to talk about Mr. Lloyd, the prosecutor, and we really got to find out that he was a decent person, the victim, that is, and
yes.
What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's so sad often in cases that the victims are forgotten, and in a high-profile case like this, all we knew about Odin Lloyd was that, that he dated a sister, of Hernadez's fiance. There was Shania and Cheyenne, and that there was some talk about their relationship, not a lot, but disputed, of course, because the defense was trying to say they were good friends, i.e., why would Hernadez kill his good friend? Prosecutor tried to say they just didn't know each other. I mean, it was just, this kind of, gangster in the huddle kind of, hit, just like in Boston with his other two homicide charges. That was a drive-by, of course. So it was very nice to hear something about him at the end of the day. You could see in the eyes, of course, of his mother and of his girlfriend, of Cheyenne, that they would hold hands in court. They were very emotional when his mother gave the impact statement, and she showed, I think, such grace outside of court and speaking to the press about her son. And I think what troubled me the most about this trial was when the judge told Odin Lloyd's mother that she couldn't cry on the witness stand. I couldn't believe that. She's lost her son. Her son's been murdered, brutally. That's like the jury said. It was a very heinous crime. There were 6 shots, and they found that to be particularly atrocious, I think was the word, and heinous. But yet she couldn't cry when she spoke of her son. She was really brave, just like she was outside of court showing grace. She didn't cry. And so that's what we heard about Odin Lloyd.
She even said, I forgive Aaron Hernandez.
She did. She, to me, was an amazing woman.
You know what?
Yeah.
She
was.
I mean, a lot of people
right
wouldn't say that in that situation.
She showed so much grace and dignity, throughout all of the trial, and especially at the end and after the verdict and the sentencing.
What do you think prosecutors did right that got the conviction? Because, this was a circumstantial case, a lot of people said. And to you, what was the smoking gun in this case that said guilty?
Well, the juror said the smoking gun was hearing about what Aaron Hernandez said, to the owner of the Patriots when he said, I have an alibi for that murder. So when they talk to me, I can tell them where I was. Well, he said that long before anyone knew when the murder occurred. So the jurors said that was a smoking gun. But, the prosecutors had a really tight circumstantial evidence case. And I always say that circumstantial evidence is better than direct evidence. I mean, circumstantial evidence it's a fingerprint, it's a cell tower ping, it's in this case the surveillance video, the fact that he was walking around with a Glock on surveillance, which is the murder weapon that he had. There's a casing of a Glock in the car, fingerprints of the victim in the car, and you put all those things together, and the fact that his fiance was seen presumably getting rid of the murder weapon, et cetera, even dismantles his own cell phone on video at the police station. So witnesses can and do lie, they can be mistaken, but evidence never lies. That's evidence, and it was strong. And I like it better because you just can't really impeach evidence itself. You can impeach witnesses, but not this evidence. I thought the prosecutors were awesome. They did a beautiful job. Very tight case, very well presented.
And what do you think of Mr. Hernandez's counsel saying that he was there, conceding that?
I felt like when they only did that as in closing arguments, so they didn't do it in the evidence. To me, it was like a Hail Mary, like a last-ditch effort to save the case. They're admitting it's a really strong circumstantial case by doing that, but they're saying even if you believe every item of that evidence points to him, okay, he was there, but he didn't do it. So to me, it was like giving up at the end. I wouldn't have done it, but I don't know, what they were thinking at the time. I wouldn't admit. Well, first of all, it's not evidence in closing arguments. So why do you get in there and come up with a new theory in closing when there's no evidence to support it? To say he was there, there's no evidence. Well, the circumstantial evidence is there, but there's no evidence that you can say what he was doing there or not doing there, because his co-defendants, Wallace and Ortiz, they know. But, the fact is that they're just saying he's there, but he didn't pull the trigger. But they can't say he didn't pull the trigger because there's no evidence of that. So I thought it was a real stretch. I thought it was a real gamble. And if they really, they'd spent all their time in the trial trying to fight and combat all that evidence, and then at the end, in closing arguments, they basically kind of gave up and put a white flag up and said, yeah, but he didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah. They did place him there at the scene, though, for no reason,
That was and then all of a sudden, the prosecutors are probably sitting at their table going, phew, now they've admitted he was there, Right?
And what's really crazy is that his own camera system helped, in the end, indict him.
Right. Even though he dismantled it. He dismantled it, like, right after the murder. But he still, you've got, his fiancée, Cheyenne, on video, looking like she's taking the gun out of there after he sent her this cryptic text telling her how to get rid of a package. And then second, you've got him walking around his house with a Glock, the murder weapon, which he got rid of.
Yes, and that was very compelling, that, that piece of evidence when they were showing her with the getting rid of the evidence or whatever was in that brown bag.
And she can't remember what dumpster it was in? She doesn't know where it went?
I couldn't remember.
No.
Yes, and he's also, you think they're going to go through with the other double homicide, I believe it is?
Oh, definitely, because I think prosecutors always worry, as they should, that he might win an appeal down the road and be freed, or the law could change and it wouldn't be life without parole. So the insurance that they have is continuing with the prosecution in Boston. And as I understand it, that's a stronger case than we had with the Odin Lloyd murder. There's an eyewitness in the car. I mean, he does a drive-by. He's on surveillance in that. He's mad. They show him getting a gun. And then he does a drive-by of an SUV, kills two people, but there's someone in the car that IDs him. So if it's a strong case, why not?
And according to that timeline, he was actually playing football after he allegedly killed those two people.
He was, in fact.
He
signed his contract, as I understand it, after that.
Say that again?
I think he signed his contract after that. And he gave that, where he had the press conference